a bawdy doodle. Donald Trump was hoping that this would be the weekend that the Jeffrey Epstein story would finally go away. This would not be that weekend.
Stunning.
Donald Trump made strong remarks during the latest Joe Rogan episode, where Rogan brought up an old photo of Trump with his daughter, Ivanka. This picture, taken years ago, has resurfaced amid ongoing discussions about matters linked to Epstein. Rogan has recently been advocating for transparency, claiming that Trump is doing everything possible to keep crucial information about the Epstein files hidden from the public. Now, it appears the situation might escalate further. Reports suggest Trump may have been connected not only with minors, but also faces disturbing implications involving his own daughter.
That Donald Trump needs to have a convicted child sex trafficker vouch for him. That's how bad things are right now as he tries to squeeze.
This claim isn't without basis. We've all seen videos of Trump making unsettling comments about his daughter's body. For many, this adds fuel to existing public suspicions. Perhaps Trump's ties to Epstein are far from as clean as he wants people to believe. According to Rogan, if Trump's name truly isn't in those files, it should be simple for him to release them, especially since he once pledged to do so while serving as president. Yet for many, Trump being linked to Epstein isn't even the most disturbing aspect. More alarming is the suggestion he may have harbored inappropriate thoughts about his own daughter.
It's telling us right now. Why would you, as the president, say to the FBI, redact me from all of these files?
I have no idea.
Because he's all over them.
In regard to what? In regard to doing things to children?
Ivanka, meanwhile, has been making headlines for completely different reasons. She recently attended the Allen and Company Sun Valley Conference, often called Summer Camp for Billionaires, where she was spotted in a sleek, form-fitting outfit, walking alongside Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav. Naturally, her public appearances are now under intensified scrutiny, with many noting the deliberate image she's projecting in her recent outings.
Resolution, quote, affirms that Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction and sentencing were more than warranted by the facts, and any receipt of a pardon, commutation, or other form of clemency by Ghislaine Maxwell would deny survivors the...
Online, Ivanka has been posting photos that display a more stylish and confident image, prompting some to label it a revenge body. This term describes someone unveiling a striking new look, often after stepping back from public roles or overcoming personal struggles. Since leaving politics in 2022, Ivanka seems focused heavily on her appearance, sharing carefully curated posts against luxurious settings.
Seemed to release all the Epstein files during his 2024 presidential campaign if reelected. But very little has been released since victory, and certainly nothing new. Then in May, the Wall Street Journal reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi...
The photo Rogan referred to, showing a teenage Ivanka with Donald Trump, has been fact-checked and confirmed authentic. It has resurfaced recently, drawing renewed public attention. While no additional details about its context have surfaced, the longer the conversation continues, the greater the pressure mounts on Trump.
Out that Trump has directed the FBI to redact his name in the Epstein files.
Yeah, but why is his name in there?
That's what I'm asking you. What could be a possible good reason that wouldn't implicate him in all the bad shit that Epstein was doing?
We need to see those.
That pressure is already visible in Trump's latest statements. In fact, he might be starting to bend. Reports indicate that within Trump's circle, officials are actively debating how to respond to the Epstein controversy. Following Joe Rogan's comments, it's now said they're considering using Rogan's platform to release portions of a recorded interview between Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. The recording exceeds 10 hours, is partially redacted and digitized. There's ongoing debate over whether releasing it would defuse tensions or ignite an even bigger backlash.
Your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story.
I don't understand
about how it's been handled.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead.
But is this the final step? Not long ago, reports surfaced claiming Trump had already removed his name from certain records. Critics now question how far this effort has gone. And even if those records are eventually made public, will they be genuine or just a carefully crafted version of what they want shown? Even before answers emerge, it's evident the situation runs deep.
That I know people who have seen that file.
Right.
And I know that the Justice Department file is not where it's at. The real juicy stuff where people are named is in the civil lawsuits.
Correct.
And
A new Freedom of Information Act lawsuit seeks to compel the government to release every document related to Jeffrey Epstein and his network. The case is now with Judge Tanya Chutkan, a federal judge in Washington, D.C., known for her straightforward style, fast pace, and zero tolerance for stalling tactics.
Registered Democrat and party donor from 2001 to 2009. If they really wanted full transparency, Republicans would have done it already, but they won't. Why? Because the left wants all the predators, Democrat or Republican, exposed. The right?
Significantly, Judge Chutkan gained prominence overseeing the criminal prosecution of Donald Trump for attempting to overturn the 2020 election results. Tough yet fair, she has little patience for delays or legal maneuvers. That's why many believe her handling of the Epstein Files case is a major setback to Trump's efforts to keep those documents hidden.
Trump says nobody's approached him about a pardon, which, first of all, that's bullshit. I'm sure he's been approached about a pardon for Maxwell.
Democracy Forward, a nonprofit dedicated to using the Freedom of Information Act to hold agencies accountable, filed a lawsuit. They're demanding the release of a broad set of materials. Everything from Epstein's files to internal government emails, messages involving senior officials, and any related documents. With Judge Chutkan randomly assigned, the case is expected to be taken seriously and move forward without unnecessary delays.
See you.
Because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Like literally, so they're not going to get upset, they're not going to get riled up.
It's like they're okay with anything he does, but you better not kids.
That's right.
It's like that's the one that they cannot.
At the same time, the House Oversight Committee issued a subpoena to the Department of Justice for these files. However, congressional subpoenas don't guarantee compliance, and the Trump administration has a record of ignoring or delaying such requests, especially on politically sensitive issues. This is why having a federal judge order the release through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit is critical. A judge's order carries the weight of law, something Congress often fails to enforce effectively, particularly in today's political climate, where many Republicans are hesitant to confront Trump.
Yet another distraction away from Jeffrey Epstein, but also Trump's failing economy and failing presidency. Because while Trump tries to soothe his ego by bringing in a guy from the Heritage Foundation with...
If Judge Chutkan orders the Trump administration to release the files, and they refuse, the law requires the U.S. Marshal Service to enforce that order. The complication is that the Marshals operate under the Department of Justice, the same branch being compelled to hand over the records. This creates a potentially explosive constitutional standoff. Some reports even suggest Trump might instruct the Marshals to disregard the order, a move without precedent that would directly attack the rule of law. However, every act of defiance like this risks further damaging his political standing and intensifying public backlash.
I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats.
To block the release of these records, the Trump administration is expected to rely on standard Freedom of Information Act exemptions, which allow the government to withhold documents under certain conditions. A key exemption is a pending case rule, which lets records stay sealed if they relate to ongoing legal proceedings. Although Ghislaine Maxwell's appeals are nearly over, they're not fully resolved, giving the administration a potential excuse to keep the files hidden.
A free pass. So what's their play here? Easy. Protect the files, protect Trump, pretend you're full of transparency while making sure your side's names stay hidden. And if you're really serious about exposing everyone...
This technically gives the DOJ a legal basis to withhold some materials, arguing their release could affect ongoing cases. Another likely tactic is invoking the national security exemption, claiming the records contain sensitive information that, if disclosed, could harm U.S. national security. Ultimately, it will fall to Judge Chutkan to decide. She will review the files, hear arguments, and weigh whether the administration's justifications outweigh the public's right to no point 10.
That he's trying to hide, and the more he says, the more lies that come out, the more people are questioning it, and they don't want to let this issue die because it's obvious they're hiding things.
So do you believe, despite denials from
Trump's lawyers may try to have Judge Chutkan removed from the case by filing a motion for recusal, arguing her involvement in prior Trump-related cases undermines her impartiality. Yet legal experts doubt this will succeed, noting Judge Chutkan has ruled in Trump's favor before and has shown no bias. Only a consistent application of the law as she interprets it.
It's new. There were like 50 photos of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump side by side in lockstep, arm to arm. But this is still new. Isn't that crazy that there is even more relationship that we...
Meanwhile, conservative commentator George made headlines during a recent appearance on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, a respected figure in conservative circles for decades, delivered sharp criticism of Donald Trump and the direction he has taken the Republican Party.
Did I mention he's in the Epstein files and there's a giant cover-up going on? Did I mention that?
But they're throwing a party tonight.
Yes, they're throwing an Epstein-themed party. That seems an unfortunate way to put it. At J.D. Vance's house?
Yes.
Oh, so they're discussing the cover-up tonight.
Yes, they're going to have a big dinner on how...
Trump responded to Will's...
Now 84, George first registered as a Republican in 1964 to support Barry, Goldwater's presidential run. He identifies as a true conservative, committed to constitutional principles and limited government. However, Will says Trump's rise ultimately led him to leave the party after more than 50 years of membership.
Donald Trump out of the photograph that we have of Donald Trump right here with
Will recounted an incident from the 2016 campaign when Trump met with then House Speaker Paul Ryan to discuss shared principles. Initially, Ryan withheld his endorsement, but after Trump attacked a Mexican-American judge from Indiana, Ryan endorsed him. For Will, this moment confirmed the party had fundamentally changed and no longer reflected his values. Shortly after, Will quietly changed his voter registration to unaffiliated.
Some of the names that Jeffrey Epstein would mention to her would be, she mentioned Donald Trump's name 3 times on the stand. She also mentioned Bill Clinton's name. And then she says that she was introduced to Donald Trump.
Trump responded to Will's remarks on Twitter, calling him overrated and claiming he had lost his way long ago. Will countered with humor, pointing out that Trump enjoys the advantage of saying everything in 140 characters, a feat Will himself can't match.
It was Catherine Lucy of Bloomberg who got Donald Trump to lie about the J.D. Vance meeting, about the Epstein situation.
During the interview, Will also criticized Trump's recent declaration of a 50-year emergency over the U.S. trade deficit, which Trump used to justify imposing reciprocal tariffs. Will emphasize that the Constitution grants Congress, not the president, the power to regulate trade. While Congress has delegated some trade authority to the executive branch, Will argued it's questionable whether the law Trump cited actually covers such tariffs. If it does, he warned, it could amount to an unconstitutional transfer of legislative power to the presidency. 1441/1455 will mock Trump's claim of a decades-long emergency, calling an oxymoron since emergencies are, by definition, sudden and short-lived. To illustrate, he offered a tongue-in-cheek analogy. His barber constantly runs a trade deficit with him because Will buys corn and pork from Iowa, yet no one from Iowa comes in for a haircut. 15:1815. 31. Will reminisce about his early political work during the 1964 Goldwater campaign, even showing a vintage ad from that era on the program. He contrasted the campaign's patriotic messaging with what he sees as the Republican Party's current compromises and foreign entanglements under Trump.